So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual chapter of IACT. I am DHA and a whole lot of other people as well that endorse this chapter. We're so glad to have you with us here for the November meeting. And we have a special guest tonight. Stephanie Conkle will be talking with us in just a little while about profound somnambulism. I love the name. Both names. I love Stephanie as well. It's a lovely name, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great to talk with her. And we've got a couple of things to talk about, a little old business, a little current business, a little bit new business. That is under the topic of old business. We've just gotten back from Chicago only just a couple of weeks ago. Karen and her crew up there in the Windy City did a magnificent job putting on yet another wonderful conference. Those of you who have not been to the Mid-America Conference, start going because it's really a very cool one and really sort of a family-ish. And I don't mean that in the sense of it's just so small, there's only 7 people there. They call small groups like that family-ish as well. But this is different. This is a lovely, lovely group and folks from all over the place. So please go. I think you'll enjoy that in the future. Any post reports from Chicago, Karen?
It was a really great time, had a lovely time, and already I am twisting some arms of some of my favorite people to be speakers in October. So some of them know who they are with us right now. At any rate, everybody is welcome and we'd love to have you. It's October 16th, 17th, 18th, that third weekend in October next year. So join us in Chicago. It's a good time. Mm-hmm. The Winter Hypnosis Conference in Vegas is coming up.
Well, hold on to that for a second because that's coming up stuff. We've also got an already happened thing that were you in the HPTI online conference?
I was not this time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that you were. So HPTI just had another online convention.
Yes.
I think it was a 2-day thing, right?
Yeah.
Just this past weekend. So kudos to them for that. I believe that it went well. I hope that we get a little report from Karen. So I'm sorry I was wrong about the attendance. And here in Orlando, the Hypnosis Education Association had its annual awards banquet and election and meetings and all that sort of stuff. And I am the Grover Cleveland of hypnosis in Florida. The HEA has been around for about 17 years. 15 years ago, I was president of the HEA for a couple of years, actually. And then my friend Patty Scott was president for a couple of years. And now, 15 years later, I am once again the president of the Hypnosis Education Association, and Patty is vice president. And we plan on giving them a couple of terms worth of some revitalization here in Florida. Great group, y'all. Come on down. November is our main meeting every year. We also have a 1-day over in the Tampa area in March, and great speakers. And as far as I know, might be an exception, but as far as I know, the HEA is the only member-owned, operated, and driven hypnosis organization in the country. We are a 501c3 educational corporation. I don't know what the status of Mid-America is, by the way. It may be similar, but I know when we got it started, there was nothing like that. All of the groups seemed to be owned by somebody and were operated for the purpose of making a profit. So it was really rather cool when we came together at the end of a revolution with another organization whose name I will not need to mention, but that's what happened then. So anyway, God bless the HEA, and I'm thrilled and honored once again to have that
Congratulations
as their president. And so next month, our December meeting is going to be something very special. Now, Karen, is the winter conference you were talking about? What month is that? Is that after
February? So
that's
it's
February. Oh yeah, well. So let's talk about
future pacing. So
because next month here at the virtual chapter, we are going to have our annual banquet. So y'all order up something that you like, before the meeting. We'll have courses, we'll have appetizers, and starters, and then we'll get into some lovely main and perhaps have a little bit of dessert. I think we'll have some guest speakers and visitors drop in throughout the course of the evening, and it occurs to me that we may even have some very unusual awards, the kind that you've never heard of at any other meeting, but I think, it's appropriate to give out some cyber hypnosis awards as well. So we'll see what happens with that. So watch for an announcement in the virtual chapter, and get ready. Now, make sure that you're dressed properly, of course, because we want you to come in your finest. And like I said,
Holiday attire.
and the whole thing is catered by Pizza Hut. So if you call the local Pizza Hut number for your area, they will deliver your meal specifically to you. And I think that's just a perfect way to do it online. So great. That's going to be exciting, and we're looking forward to it. So now tell us about the winter conference, Karen.
The winter conference is in February 17th, 18th, and 19th in Vegas. And boy, will I be glad to be in Vegas if this winter, what we're having here today in Chicago, is anything like what we're having in the next couple of months. But at any rate, 3 days in Vegas. And Kelly T. Woods and I started out that very first day. We're going to do a whole day on workshops, how to do workshops, and the kind of workshops you can do to bring in business and introduce hypnosis and various kinds of turnkey workshops that you can take with you. And then there are, I believe, 40 presenters over the next 2 days. So join us in Vegas. By the way, if you haven't registered yet and you want to register for the conference, use the code Karen, Karen, to get $10 off. And if you'll email me that you did that, I will send you a special video on resource generation. So a little plug for myself on that one.
All right. By the way, I want to get you another little plug, because everybody knows that's been hanging out with us at the chapter that Karen and I have been just being outlaws on the internet and certifying people in hypnosis and doing all kinds of things, even when it wasn't thought well of. But gosh, you got to do what you got to do, and time stands still for no man and woman. And this man and woman decided we were going to do something about it. So we had done our hypnosis class twice, and Karen is now on her third go around, this time doing it on her own. How's that going?
It's going great. We have 3 new budding members of IACT going to be joining us. Well, they're already student members, so if they're not here with us tonight, they'll be watching this replay. They're going to be great hypnotists. I can't wait. They're also going to be ICBCH members, and so it's kind of a cross grouping of associations, but it's a fun group, and it's a great time. We did live work and online work, and then we'll end it up in Vegas.
Isn't that lovely? And so here we are, a testament once again to what you can do with the internet. And at the same time, by the way, and the reason that I'm not really joining Karen on this particular adventure is that I'm running an NLP practitioner training. We started out with an evening online, but we actually have 4 days live here in Orlando starting the day after tomorrow, and then another 4 days in January, and somewhere in between that we have a couple of online sessions as well. So it's a hybrid course, but it actually has 8 live days this time, so a little bit less internet heavy than the hypnosis class was, but it's getting very, very exciting. And as I was telling people, the subject came up at the HCA this weekend. Some people are like, well, I don't know if I like doing hypnosis online, and I don't know. And I've got to tell you folks, and I mean this with all the love I can muster. I understand that it may make some people a little uneasy, or you're not quite comfortable with the idea just yet. But the truth of the matter is the world is moving in that direction, and it doesn't seem to care whether you like it or not. So so I think if you really, I would just really encourage you to consider, if you don't know how to do work online yet, to start practicing and working towards that. Because when was the last time you used the Yellow Pages, or picked up a phone book for that matter? When people want something and they want to find out about something, the first place they go is to the internet. And in particular, if you're in some little small place, you have the opportunity to reach a huge audience, and you can even live in Peoria and have a great thriving practice if you learn how to do it online. And part of the reason I'm saying that, and I don't mean to be saying it as a commercial, but I will point out that I've been running the virtual hypnotist class, teaching people how to do that, and I run a class called the Virtual Trainer. The Virtual Trainer is starting a week from today, 3 online sessions. And the virtual hypnotist is starting again in January. So if you're interested in any of those things, get in touch with me, and and you might you might want to take those classes. 3 sessions, $65. Kmart prices. Some of you remember Kmart, Walmart prices, and
Can be the best $60 you'll ever spend for your business.
Yeah.
I took his class, and now about 75% of my business is online, just by learning it from Michael. And I have clients all over the world. So expand your horizons if you haven't done it.
And there's so much, I'm sorry there's so many announcements today, but we are announcement heavy, I guess, here at the beginning, because also coming up here in Florida, anybody that wants to come to Orlando, Core Transformation live and in person, hopefully I'm waiting to get a confirmation on the dates, but I will know by tomorrow or the next day, hopefully the last day of January and the first 2 days of February. So a great time to come to Orlando, especially, if you're, up there. So what can I say? The Galaxy of the Stars will be running again in February. We're going to do this like twice a year. February and October seems to be what we're going on. So there's another exciting adventure just coming up over the horizon. And finally, in April, on April 24th to 26th is the IMDHA conference, which will be held in Orlando this year. And around that conference, I've got another new responsibility that I don't know if we mentioned it last time or not. I've told some people about it, but due to some health issues, George Bien has stepped down from running the Master Trainer training, and Michael Watson has become the guy who is running the Master Trainer program. And in the process of doing it, we're completely rewriting the entire curriculum for IACT, and we're really excited about the way that it's going. And so that training is going to be coming up in April. I think that's just about it.
Let me just say one more thing, and that is you qualified for CEUs for joining us here tonight: IACT, IMDHA, ICBCH, IHF, and other friendly organizations. Just let them know that you spent the time here. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can also get your CEUs. Just contact your organization and let them know. And now, I hope we've done it all, because I just can't wait to get to Stephanie.
Okay, almost all. And there's only one last thing, but this is going to be so truncated because I know we did so much of this. And I just thought, because it is Thanksgiving month, it would be appropriate for us to just kind of acknowledge the things that we're thankful for, and to put it all in one big package. I would just like to let people know that I am thankful for the virtual chapter and what a wonderful thing it has been to bring us all together. And I am especially thankful to Karen Hand for being my right hand in that process, because there's nothing better than having somebody great to do this with. And so my heart goes out, and thanks.
I'd like to bounce that right back to you, because I owe a lot of my career and my personal development to Michael. So I really appreciate you, and to the virtual chapter. Oh my God, I love you guys. And to people like Stephanie Conkle, who come and join us in the chapter. I think I'm so grateful to the respect that the chapter gets, all the wonderful people who come and share their wisdom here free, second Tuesday of every month. It's amazing.
So let me tell you guys about this lady. This Stephanie Conkle woman is an award-winning master hypnotist, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a certified hypnosis instructor, an NLP master practitioner, an author, and a success coach. Wow, that's a lot of things. And she specializes in transforming people at various levels of consciousness. She has more than a decade of experience helping transform people from ordinary to extraordinary. Her clientels range from housewives. Well, she's in Georgia, so of course they have housewives there, from housewives to celebrities and to everyone in between. Her office is based in the greater Atlanta area, and she helps people worldwide via online coaching and hypnotism. And, and I'll tell you what, I could just say it. She's a member of like all of the organizations, from NGH to IMDHA to ICBCH and AAH. And she's just an incredible powerhouse. Stephanie, I met you a few years ago, but it seems like in the last couple of years, you have just taken off like a rocket. At least that's how it looks from where I'm looking. And so we are just thrilled to have you here. I'm going to turn on your microphone in a minute as soon as I can find it, because I want to be able to give you an opportunity to.
Or you can unmute yourself, Stephanie, which might make it.
Oh, I think we're doing it back and forth.
Okay.
Yay, there.
Yay.
Hi.
Hi, and Michael and Karen, and I just want to say that I am so grateful for you guys too, and thank you for just all of your hard work and just coming, week after week, month after month, and just being like shining stars in our industry. And I really appreciate you guys and all of you guys too who have joined us today.
Well, Steph, you really got my attention because right about the time that we were starting to do this stuff, you really started showing up in video everywhere. That you're one of those folks who sort of grabbed that thing by the horns and started doing Facebook Lives and stuff before,
Yes. And let me just tell you that was very, very hard for me in the beginning because I'm a natural introvert. I'm a naturally shy person. So I had to sort of learn to come out of my shell, and doing all of the videos, I had to become comfortable with that. But I was sort of pushed into doing the videos by Telma Knutson, who was sort of coaching me at the time. And I'm very grateful to him for doing that. He was so hard on me. But I'm glad he was, because that really helped me to get out there, to get my message out. It really helped my marketing, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this now, because I remember the first couple of live videos I did, I was very nervous, very shy. I was so self-critical. I hated it. I didn't want to see myself,
I'm nervous now.
I'm a little bit nervous myself too. Because you always want to put your best foot forward and whatnot. So thank you. And I actually have a goal of getting 1,000 YouTube videos up.
Wow.
Oh.
I have a goal.
Excellent.
I have a chart. I might go in a minute and show you my goal chart. And so I've got like 55 up now, but my goal is 1,000.
No, I set a real big goal of adding more YouTube videos. I thought that was a big goal.
Right.
Just more.
Well, for me, I just really have to have very specific goals.
Yeah, it's a big one. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I didn't put a time limit for that goal, so it could take me 10 years to get there, but but that's my goal. And I have a goal chart, and I color it in. For every 5 videos I do, I take my highlighter and I color in the chart, and I've got a little rainbow of colors going, so kind of makes it fun for me.
Nice.
Did you at one point, Stephanie, bill yourself as the lazy hypnotist?
I did, yeah.
That was a while back. That's where I first became acquainted with you.
Oh, okay, yeah, the lazy-ish hypnotist.
Yeah.
I like doing hypnosis the easy way.
That's why it's only 1,000 videos.
Well, right. Right.
The irony was
10,000 if I wasn't the lazy video.
Well, no, the irony was you were doing so much.
Oh. Right. And what I really meant by that was efficient. So it was just kind of like my little marketing tool at that time.
Yes, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I'm always looking for ways to work less and get more done, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So Steph, I wonder if you could just help us out for the benefit of people who don't know you very well. And I got to say, I don't know anything about your backstory either. And I know we want to get into profound somnambulism, but I'd love to just know a little bit about how did Stephanie Conkle happen to get where she is and find her way into the world of hypnosis and onto profound somnambulism.
Yeah, so this is like always a long story, and it's like, how do I make this short and sweet for everybody? How do we all become hypnotists, right? Such a lot, so many paths that had to converge to get me to where I am now. But sort of long story short, I didn't set out to be a hypnotist. I never thought when I was a kid, hey, I want to be a hypnotist when I grow up, right? I was sort of introduced to hypnotists as a child. My dad was fascinated by hypnosis. He went to see a clinical hypnotherapist for an insomnia issue that he was having. And it worked so well on him that he decided that he would try to do hypnosis on his kids, but just for fun. I mean, he didn't know really anything about hypnotism, but he was just sort of mimicking the hypnotherapist that he went to. So he tried it out on me when I was a kid, and it worked on me. And so that was sort of my first experience with hypnosis, was that my dad was acting the hypnotist, and it worked on me. Right. So, so I became fascinated with hypnosis really. Well, there's two incidents that I could remember where I really became fascinated with it. One incident was I was watching a PBS show, and there was a hypnotist on there who had somebody in somnambulism, had her arm hanging. He said, imagine that there's an invisible rope hanging down from the ceiling, and she had her arm. It was like, well, you can't see in the video, but it's like, it was like really up here, and she had it hanging there for like an hour. And my arm was becoming tired, and he kept checking back in with her saying, how do you feel? Are you very comfortable? And she would say, oh yeah, this is very comfortable. And so that was my first, like, there's like something about the mind that is strange. Then sort of fast forward to college, we had a stage hypnotist come to our school. I actually happened to be gone for the weekend. I went back home, but my friends had stayed back. My boyfriend had stayed back. And when I got to school on Monday, my whole friend group had volunteered to be hypnotized. And they were just telling me about all of these like phenomenal things that were happening to them. And these were like very smart, intelligent students. These were all Dean's List students, you know? And I was like, what is this, you know? And I was like, wow, the brain is really fascinating. It's really, you know, it really intrigued me.
I'm
right?
chuckling at your impression, even at that age, of it should just be the dumb, gullible kids who can do
yeah, it. Right. Because my impression of, you know, hypnosis was like what many people's impressions are, right?
Yeah.
What they see in cartoons or in movies, right? And not really based in reality. So I was thinking, well, yeah, if these people are so smart, then there is something behind this that I would like to investigate more. But I didn't really do anything with it at the time. My bachelor's degree is in film and video production. So I was working on, you know, movie sets in Dawson's Creek and all this kind of stuff. Then so around 2001, after 9/11 and the economy started failing, I kind of got out of the movie industry because I wasn't really doing well financially. I moved back to Atlanta because that's where my family was based, and they actually had really good jobs in Atlanta. So I ended up just getting like a corporate job there, and I did really well in the company, and I got promotions, and I was making good money. In fact, just getting the mortgage for my house was based on my salary alone. But I was just, you know, dead inside. I was not enjoying being like a corporate automaton. I didn't enjoy making all this money for other people. And also I didn't believe in the product that we were selling. I really felt like we were ripping the customers off, and I couldn't do anything about it, or I would be, you know, couldn't say anything about it, I'd be fired, and I needed the job at the time. Then I got to the point where I was driving to work, and there was a big old Mack truck behind me. I was like stuck in Atlanta traffic. And I was just wishing that that truck would hit me so that I could be hospitalized. Like, I didn't want it to kill me, but I just wanted to go to the hospital for a few weeks just so I didn't have to go to work. So that night when I got home, I was like, you know what? I shouldn't be like thinking that I need to self-harm. Like, maybe I just need to change careers, or maybe I just need to get out of this job. All right. So I keep working at that same company for a while, and I ended up getting pregnant with my first child. And I hate to say that she was my ticket out of there. She was my ticket out of there. I just used her to get out of that job. Okay. I hate admitting that, but that's exactly what happened. But I had my letter of resignation written for like a year before that.
And you did keep the daughter.
I did keep the daughter. Well, I mean, she's a teenager now. Can I give her back for a while? And then
No, you still have to treat her as if she's the golden gift, golden ticket that she is.
yeah, right, exactly. The golden.
Don't let her watch this.
No. She would just laugh. So anyway, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just try the stay-at-home mom thing for a while. By the way, when I left the job, it didn't go back. I was planning on returning. I went on maternity leave. I came back for 2 weeks, turned in my letter of resignation. At this time, my husband was underemployed. He only worked at Starbucks, and he didn't have like another job. And I quit my job. I had a new house, a new mortgage, and a baby. A new baby, a mortgage. And I was the sole like breadwinner of the family. But I was just like, we just got to make this work. Like, I'm just gonna trust that something is going to happen and everything is going to work out, because I knew I just couldn't go back to the job that I had. So my husband did find another job, and kind of, and I was like, well, being at home with the baby was very isolating, very lonely. And I loved the baby, but I had no adult conversation, no intelligent stimulus of any kind. I'm not the type to watch soap operas, okay? And so I think I watched maybe a Dr. Amen PBS special, and he said, keep your brain healthy and active, learn something new, learn something that you've never learned before and that you would be interested in. And so I kind of thought, okay, I know I want to learn something. And the other thought I had was, I know that I want to go back to work, but when I go back to work, I want to help other people. I don't want to like rip them off. I want to help them. At that time, I didn't know in what capacity just yet. Okay, so then kind of fast forward to after my daughter was born, I developed a huge fear of flying. Like, I could fly comfortably before she was born, like no problem. But after she was born, I just had a paralyzing fear of flying. And my husband had won an award, not an award, but he got his movie featured at the Cannes Film Festival in the south of France. And so, and I was the producer on this movie, and it was an opportunity for me and him to go to France to walk the red carpet with like real celebrities and all this kind of stuff. And I had to like decide, am I going to let my fear like hold me back from doing like this once in a lifetime opportunity? And that was the first time I thought, all right, what can I use to, like, I know this is psychological. I know it's psychological because I could fly before. I know it's irrational. It's something to do with my mind. That's the first time I thought hypnosis. I think that will work for me. I hope it'll work for me. I don't know. I need to get on that plane. Right. And so I didn't seek out a hypnotist in person. I went online. I downloaded some recordings. I listened to some recordings. It helped me get on the plane. I didn't completely get rid of the fear until I actually saw a hypnotherapist in person who could get to the root of the problem. But at least that was enough to get me on the plane. And then I just thought, like, what is hypnosis? Like, why does this, work for people? And I remember thinking, like, I need, this would be a great thing to just really study, and it would be something new that I could learn. And I really was doing that for myself. Like, I just want to know everything I can know about it. I want to read every book I can get my hands on. At that time, YouTube wasn't like a big thing like it is now, but I do remember watching some YouTube videos. And I think that might be how I got hooked up with Wendy Friesen. think that's how I discovered her first. And she became my first hypnosis instructor. And I got my basic hypnotism certification through her. And then I got my advanced through the ICBCH.
You know, by the way, Steph, if I could just intervene there, we were talking about
Sure.
you and all the stuff that you've done on the internet. Wendy was just that as well. When I first met Wendy, she had an international visibility before any of us even began to know what search engine optimization was.
Right. Yes. Yeah. She was all over YouTube or the internet. And even on platforms other than YouTube that just don't even exist anymore.
Right.
And so,
She's
and
Wendy.com. So
right.
I mean, she's really an early adopter.
Absolutely. She totally was. And also, watching Wendy and her style, I love Wendy, but I kind of saw her as like this hot mess, just silly, but very authentic. And I thought, I'm a hot mess. You know, maybe I could actually do this, right? And so, and of course, you know, Wendy's like awesome and brilliant and really intelligent, but sometimes she just comes across as goofy and a hot mess. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I could do this. I think I can do this too. So she really encouraged me. In fact, when I took my basic from her, it was only as a curiosity, just to learn about hypnosis. I really didn't think that I was going to become a clinical hypnotherapist, but she's the one that really pushed me, really encouraged me to go into, you know, clinical hypnotherapy, which I'm very grateful for now.
Sure.
So I started off though as a life coach from my home because I needed to bring in money, and my husband still worked at Starbucks part-time. And so I could go up to Starbucks and take clients there, and I could spend a little bit of time with my husband. I wasn't really getting a whole lot of life coaching clients at the time. But very quickly, my life coaching business turned into a hypnotherapy business. In fact, I had the same exact Clear Life Results was the name of my life coaching business. So it's the same name, but now it's just hypnotherapy. So it's just Clear Life Results Hypnotherapy. Because everybody sort of wanted that. I started off in my home. I started hypnotizing. The first person that I like really hypnotized outside of my family was a mom of the toddlers group that I was in, and I hypnotized her to quit smoking, and I did that in my home. I took clients in my home to begin with, did that for the first year, then sort of had an incident where I didn't feel safe taking clients in my home, so I ended up moving out to an office. And then I just, you know, continued to grow my business ever since.
No, I think I've learned two very important things from you already. First of all, probably the fact that your business was born amongst Starbucks.
Right. Yes.
Maybe something that really gave you that extra shot, because this lazy hypnotist doesn't seem to be very lazy to me at all. But I also have decided that in the future, when I take applications from students, what I might want to put on the application, the first question should be probably, are you a hot mess? And if they say yes, then I know that they've got some potential.
Yeah. And so, and I try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not display, that's not the word, but I try to help other people to see that you don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to, you know, everybody, I think or a lot of people get caught up on just, oh, am I saying the right words in the right order? Do I sound hypnotic enough? And it's like, you can be a hot mess and still be a hypnotist.
All you have to be is hypnotic. I learned this originally from Michael. I mean, we can look at the adorable Bob Burns, who kind of shuffles his way through a session, and he's just as hypnotic as he can possibly be.
You just have to have the intention there. And Karen, you have that awesome book of the hypnotic magic hypnotic words.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You know, but it's the intention behind the words is what makes them magical, right?
Yes. Right. But anybody can be hypnotic. People are hypnotic in different ways, right? Wendy
Absolutely.
Friesen was completely in her hot messedness,
Yeah, yes,
completely hypnotic to you and helped you change. Oh my God,
absolutely.
thank God. Right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And so now it's sort of coming back to me. I was actually looking for um, a hypnotist for myself who felt hypnotic to me and whose voice I really enjoyed. And I went through several different hypnotists until I found her. And then it was like she had the voice of an angel. It was like, oh. And I really just sort of resonated with her hypnotic voice. I was listening to some Paul McKenna CDs and he scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I love Paul McKenna.
I love him too.
But that's the point. That's the point. We need variety. We need all kinds. There's enough business for all of us.
That's right.
Because we're all looking for something different. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And speaking of Paul McKenna, I think sometimes he gets a bad rap just because he's sort of a celebrity or whatever. But his book was the first book that I read on hypnotism that sort of demystified it for me, that really helped me to understand what it was and sort of catapulted me into this career. So I owe a lot to Paul McKenna for that, and I'm very grateful for his teachings.
So somehow you found your way to this thing that I want to get a definition even before I get too far into this, but this thing called profound somnambulism. So you were working for a while and doing hypnosis.
Yes.
But here's something I think is really cool, and I'm gonna give you credit for this, is that we learn what we learn in schools, and I know Karen and I do everything that we can do to sort of share what it is that we have. I don't think that there's any place where you're going to go where you're going to get all of it. That life, there's an old Milton and Bradley game called Othello, which is also another name for Reversi.
I love Othello, yeah.
and on the box it says it takes a moment to learn and a lifetime
to master. Yeah.
And so I think we continue to look for more and to stretch for more. At least the people that I think really have got the right spirit for this. And that's what it is that I saw you doing, was reaching out for something that was a little bigger and a little different and a little unique and utilized phenomena of hypnosis actually, as well. So first of all, if you can kind of tell us what it is when we talk about profound somnambulism, if you can give us some kind of a definition about that, and then sort of tell us how you how you got there, or how you work with it, or whatever you want to do.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. So all right, so somnambulism, we all know what, I want to say run-of-the-mill somnambulism is, although it's not run-of-the-mill. We all know what somnambulism is.
Your everyday somnambulism, yeah.
Okay, right. So it's when you get hypnotic phenomenon, usually it's measured by the moment the client gets amnesia, then they're somnambulistic. That's how Dave Ellman sort of measures it. And that's what it is on the Aaron depth scale, although we can debate all you want about the Aaron depth scale and all that. All right. So, and by the way, I'm going to use the word depth of trance a lot, or deep. And I know that not everybody appreciates saying, deep or depth of trance or whatever. Yeah. To me, it's a mental model. It's a metaphor. It's the way that I understand it. It's the way I can verbalize it to you.
Sure.
So you're going to hear me say depth of trance.
Well, and that's the way we want to hear it.
Okay, great. So just, the brain is very complex. This is the metaphor that I'm using. Sometimes I'll say right brain or left brain. We know it's not like everything is just right brain or left brain. We know that it's more complex than that, but you'll hear me use that kind of language. Okay.
Great.
All right. So after you go into somnambulism, then you can go into a deeper somnambulism, and I call that profound somnambulism. So where different phenomenon happens at this level. This is the level where you can really put your client into the non-awareness state, where it feels to them as if they're dreaming or sleeping. Okay. Sometimes it'll feel like they're daydreaming. It could feel like they're taking a nap. Or they could remain observing, but it feels like they're so far away, like they're down a well, okay, but they sort of know what's going on. I call that the non-awareness state. So profound somnambulism is getting your client into the non-awareness state for the purpose of talking directly to their subconscious and having their subconscious answer you through the voice box of the client with the conscious mind out of the way. So you're talking to the pure subconscious mind with the conscious mind out of the way. So that means that you don't have to use idiomotor responses and play, yes or no, like the 20 questions game. So you don't have to worry about wording your questions in a way where they could say yes or no. And then what if you get a maybe, but the maybe is a complex answer, then it's sort of hard to figure out what the subconscious really needs. But when you get them into profound somnambulism, you get direct voice, subconscious dialogue. The subconscious will talk to you in full sentences. It will tell you what the secondary gain is, if there is one. It will tell you, the root of the problem, if that's what you want to know. It will clear out the problem for you, as long as the secondary gain is cleared out, but it'll also clear out the secondary gain. You can get instant healing if the subconscious allows for that to happen in your office. Just so you get all kinds of wonderful, spectacular phenomenon at a whole nother level that I don't usually talk about with a lot of people unless I know that you have a very deeply spiritual side to you. But then you can also go even deeper into like trance channeling, channel the higher self, the collective unconscious, source energy, angels, guides, all that kind of stuff. I kind of say that for like the woo-woo people, but even just like talking to the subconscious and getting that valuable information is what makes me the lazy hypnotist, because I don't have to really do any work. Once I get them into profound somnambulism, the subconscious does all of the work. And there's no doubt in my mind that the client received what they needed by the time they leave my office. And so it makes me a more confident hypnotist.
Right.
So I'm not like kind of scared or nervous or worried that, did this like actually take effect? Did it work? When I was getting the idiomotor responses from before, which by the way, I would loved when I learned about idiomotor responses, because I wasn't even doing that at one point, right? And that was great. But then it got to the point where it was like, well, was that really their conscious mind saying that? Or, was that, I can't tell. I mean, it kind of moved high. Sometimes it's very clear to tell you could tell if it was the subconscious moving the finger, like if it was a very, subtle movement. But sometimes, the finger would go up like that. And I'd be like, what the crap is that? What does that mean? It was just very,
very loud subconscious.
Very loud. Yeah. And sometimes it was the conscious mind.
Right.
Right. So,
and perhaps a subconscious mind that hadn't read the books.
And that's the thing. Everybody's different. There's not one right way for the subconscious to move somebody's finger, or to give us any kind of nonverbal cue. The subconscious is going to give you whatever nonverbal cue it gives you.
Steph, if I can, what I really like about this, and part of what I appreciate about this kind of work, is that there was a time, and you said that you weren't always using even idiomotor
right
signals. So there's a point where you sort of added that in and started
right.
to change. And I suspect if you were like everybody else, there was a point before that when you thought that what you had to do was to know the answer to every human problem that there was so that you could give the right suggestions.
Oh, yes.
And what
so much research.
and isn't this such a great relief when you finally find out that you don't have to do that? We see online every day new hypnotists or relatively new hypnotists that are saying, does anybody have a script for or know what to do for this situation or this situation or this situation? And I know how much anxiety those folks are taking with them into their office.
Yes.
Because they're, hoping that they're going to give the right suggestions. And
what cured me of that?
Getting the client involved is a real cure.
Totally. And even, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
So even early in my career, I ran a living social deal. I tried to do a Groupon at the time, but at the time Groupon would not take hypnotists. So I did a living social deal, and it was so cheap. Basically, it was actually costing me money because I was having to pay for a babysitter during this time.
It's like a Groupon thing, though. It's a coupon deal or something.
Yeah, it's a coupon deal, just right. So like you had to cut your price in half, and then Living Social took half of that. And in the early days, I wasn't even charging that much. And then they took half of that, and then they took all of the processing fees from the credit cards. So by the time, I think I got maybe like $12 for the client, and that $12 went to pay for the babysitter the first hour that the babysitter was there. And so, so it was not a great marketing plan for me, or it was not a great business strategy. But what it did do is that it brought in a massive amount of clients to my door, and it gave me tons of practice. And I hate to say it, well, I was practicing on paying clients, but kind of they got a deal. They got a big, huge discount. But what that did, I did not have time to do a case study on every single client that was coming to see me, because they were coming back to back to back to back. And I just had to trust that my own subconscious could handle it, and that I had all the knowledge and all of the wisdom that I needed to handle whatever came up. And I really had to be present, and I really had to just deal with it, whatever emerged, right? You just deal with whatever emerges. And that is really what I did. And I really was able to have the clients go in and sort of figure out the solution themselves, right? I really got good at utilization. I really got good at relying on my subconscious and their subconscious to make the change. I really got good at holding the intention that I wanted. So it really taught me some really valuable information. And then I did get word of mouth business and other clients from that. So I probably like kind of broke even in the deal. But I'm really, even though I was like very stressful at the time, very grateful that I went through that process, because it really helped me to understand that you're right, I don't have to have all of the answers. All of the answers are already within the client, and it's just helping them get in touch with their own intuition and with their own subconscious to allow those answers to come forward. And when I talk to the subconscious in profound somnambulism, the subconscious knows what to do. You don't have to know what this this thing is, this illness or this whatever. Like, you don't have to know anything about it. The subconscious knows what it is. It's been dealing with it and may have even given it to them, right? And so it can take it away. And all you really have to do is just, sometimes you have to coax the subconscious a little bit, kind of, help it, ask it questions or help it along a little bit. But once you sort of get it, once you really get the subconscious online, it's like just talking with you, Michael, just talking with a friend, back and forth. And at this point, you don't have to be like careful with your wording. You don't have to worry about saying, your sentences in the negative or something like that. Like, don't think of the.
What do you mean by that?
Like,
I'm just messing with you.
Oh, okay. So no, yes, but that's it. And the subconscious will laugh. I'll ask a question, and it will talk about the client in third person. So Michael, if I were talking to your subconscious, and I would say, well, why is Michael still doing X, Y, or Z? And sometimes I'll be like, because he's stupid. He knows better. Like it's not even that formal. It's very, jovial and funny. And I think of it as the metaphor that I sort of use for the subconscious is, if you can imagine yourself being born with an invisible conjoined twin, okay, who's been with you your entire life, knows everything about you, knows you better than you know yourself, right? That is who I'm talking to. And the subconscious will come forward as a slightly different personality from the, sometimes it will come forward and the voice will even change. It may be completely different from the client, or it may just, the tonality may be different, or the, how loud or soft it is will change. Something will usually change with the voice.
Mhm.
So let me ask a question about that, Stephanie, because there are some trainers I have heard talk about that a different voice always indicates that you have to go down a path of looking for an entity,
No.
a dark force entity. So I'm delighted to hear you say that, because I want you to talk about a different voice that is not indicative of a dark force or an attached entity.
No, and you know,
I mean, can be perhaps, but
there can be an entity, and so, and if you believe in that, and so some people think, yes, there's the spiritual side, and there's, or other people think, oh, it's all brain based and it's just like a personality part. Whatever is there for a reason, right? And I just know that it's helping the client in some way. And even if it's an entity, I want to find out why it's there, and is it serving a purpose? And if it's, you know, maybe it served a purpose at one time and then just never left. And so sometimes you have to let it know that its services are no longer needed. It's free to go and have fun, and you don't have to do this work anymore, right? And then you can send it to the light and send it love, and it'll go. I don't really get a lot of entities. Even I do this work on a daily basis, and I get that question a lot, like, you know, am I opening up some sort of portal and entities? Or I'm not opening up any portal. I'm just talking to the client, the subconscious, what they already bring with them, and then I'm just helping them sort out what's going on
either
in
we're
their psyche.
either we're both really lucky or something, but I don't get in many entities either.
I really don't.
No.
And if a client you know, has an entity, or they think they have an entity, they will like tell me when they come to. It's not like something that it's just sprung on me that I'm surprised by.
And the subconscious mind will deal with that too.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yes, correct.
By the way, I'd like to mention that we're going to have a little time towards the end for people to do some Q&As and stuff. So,
Okay.
so if folks have questions, just know we're going to give you a chance to get them in. But Scott has asked one that I wanted to ask a little earlier, and he put it here in the chat room. So when you were talking about profound somnambulism, I found myself running different words through my head about, well, what about the ultra depth technique, or what about Esdale? And so I wonder if you can just sort of help us understand the relationship between profound somnambulism and these other things that people do know about. And Scott's was specifically, he asked, do you get the client to Esdale to do the profound somnambulism protocol?
Okay, no, I don't. They're not in Esdale. They're not cataleptic. They're not in coma state. They can move around. They can talk to you with their eyes open or closed. It doesn't matter when they're in that state. I think maybe at some point during the induction, they may pass through the Esdale state and they go into a deeper level. But no, it's not, or it's just a different level. I don't know if it's deeper, but it's not Esdale. So no. In fact, I don't want to get them to Esdale, because then I may have to resort to the ideomotor responses, which I don't want to happen. I really want to talk. Now, I'll fall back on ideomotor responses if I can't get them into profound somnambulism, but it's very rare that I can't do that. So with 85 to 90% of my clients, I can get them there. And I do have data that I'm collecting on that, because I really want to know, you know, how often I get clients to profound somnambulism. It's, you know, it is sort of akin to ultra height in that there is a mind-body dissociation part in this. But again, they're not cataleptic, and you can talk to the subconscious, and you know, maybe a little bit like with stage hypnotist. So if you have a natural somnambulist or a high hypnotic responder, let's call them, they are very easy to get into profound somnambulism, and you don't have to go through all of these induction steps that I teach in my class to get them there. They can go there very quickly. And so I think that even for some people who are on stage working with these stage hypnotists, I think some of those people are in profound somnambulism, but the hypnotist doesn't know that they're at that level. Just like how some people can fall into coma state up there, right? So.
All right.
Well, I was going to ask, do you go through a long, lengthy process to get to profound? But you just answered it, because that can be a form of instant induction if you've got a somnambulist already.
If you have a somnambulist already, it's fast. Okay, but let's just talk about like average person. It takes me about 45 minutes to get them into profound somnambulism, and that's me. Other people can get them there in a quicker amount of time. Like some of my students are faster than me, and some people it takes them longer, and it just takes however long it takes. But what we can do when we get them into profound somnambulism is we can set up a reinduction word with the subconscious. And so any subsequent sessions you have with them, all you have to do is say the reinduction word, and then it drops them back into profound somnambulism like that. They just hear the word, like the 3-2-1 sleep thing, but it would be 3-2-1, and then whatever word you set up with the subconscious brings them right back. So your second session may be 10 minutes long, just to get, confirmation from the subconscious that everything's going great or whatever. But
Right.
So it is a bit of a setup process in the beginning for that first session, but anytime after that, even if it's like 6 months later, you can say that reinduction word and they'll go back into profound somnambulism.
So is this I think I got the impression just then, and I don't want to walk away with that impression if it's not true, that you tend to do one-offs. Because you said if there's a second session, does that mean?
Oh, yeah. So, well, I always ask for the follow-up personally. So, some people's business models are different than mine. I just want to know for myself, that everything worked out great. Or sometimes the subconscious will let you know that there needs to be a second session. Because sometimes you only have time to work on one issue or whatever. And the subconscious sometimes needs time to integrate the stuff. So I usually do 2 sessions. So, but yeah, I have done one-off sessions, but I usually do ask for the follow-up because I just think that's good practice.
And how long do your sessions tend to run?
So I ask clients to allot 2 hours for the session, and that includes the, getting their background information. It includes the pre-talk. It includes the induction. So I ask for about 2 hours. It may go over 15 minutes. It may go under 15 minutes, but that's usually around the mark that first session lasts. And again, the next session will be a lot shorter. So I just book out maybe an hour because they like to spend some time in the beginning just talking. So I'll give them the full hour. I might not need the full hour, but I allot myself that time too.
Right. So I was trying to get a feel for, you said about 45 minutes for the induction. So, and then the therapy. So how long is the therapy or their processing part? About
right.
How long do you allow for
yeah.
that?
And let me just rephrase that to say not so much the induction, but the deepening process. Because the induction gets them to somnambulism. And then the deepening process that I share is a very specific process that I teach that gets them to profound somnambulism. And then once we get subconscious dialogue, it really depends on the person. It's so funny because if the person is very loquacious with their conscious waking state, then usually their subconscious is also very talkative as well. And if they really don't, say a lot, then the subconscious really doesn't say a lot either. So sort of depends on the I've had I've had whole sessions where it's like the subconscious just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked, and so much wonderful information. And it, maybe it lasted 30 minutes, 45 minutes of just the subconscious talking. And I've had other sessions where subconscious was just saying yes, no, not really giving me a great amount of information, but enough information that I could still help the client and get ratification from the subconscious. So it depends, but I say about 10 to 15 minutes. And it also depends if you're doing what type of session you're doing. If you're doing a healing session, if you're doing, pain removal, then you'll get to the part of the session where you do a body scan, where the subconscious will go in and scan the body from the head to the toes, and the subconscious will you'll ask for it to look for any parts of the body that needs to be healed, or if there's any blockages, and that can be mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual. And so I'm asking for it to scan for any blockages and let me know when it comes to a blockage. And so what's fascinating about the body scan part is that sometimes things will come up that the client had no idea about. Like there was something going on in the client's body that they didn't even know was going on. So then, okay, go to the doctor and get that checked out. Even though the subconscious has sent it healing energy, still go to the doctor and get it checked out, right? But it's interesting that it's, like, oh, the conscious mind didn't even know that this thing was going on inside the body. So and then, and then other times, of course, knee injury or something, of course, the client knows that that's happening. But I don't always do a body scan. It sort of depends if I feel like smoking cessation or something. I do a body scan. I do that on the second session for my smokers, because then I'll do a healing, like an accelerated healing session where the subconscious will go in and accelerate the healing of the throat and the nose and the lungs and and all of that. I could do that in one session, but that's not really a good business model. And I want them to come back anyway for the follow-up. So I just do that in the second session.
So if I'm understanding this right, then when you achieve profound somnambulism, you're then, as opposed to having a protocol that says, now we've got somnambulism and now we're going to do X, you're actually going to do X or Y or Z, depending on what's going on, right? In other words, you're not necessarily going for cause, or you're not necessarily going for secondary gain, or you're not necessarily going to do the body scan.
Right. You're going to use your judgment or just follow, what the subconscious says. And you'll sort of know what to do when you're there. I was
going to say, that's interesting that you said that. How much of your own intuition is involved in how you decide where to go?
So basically whatever the client wants, right? So you just start with utilization. What does the client? Well, the question that I asked before we even begin the session is, what is the one thing? What is the one thing that you want to take away from today's session? Like when you leave my office today, how do you want to be or feel? And so I want to know what is it that they really want? Because sometimes they talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about all that, and okay, what do you want? Because you just threw like a million things at me. Yeah. And so I really want to get clarity.
And most of those things were probably things that they didn't want.
Right, exactly. Right. Right. They just sort of like regurgitated all this stuff. And I give them a little bit of, I don't like a lot of that, but I give them a little bit of space to do that. Huh? And then it's like, well, what do you want? What is one thing? And so I want to get that answer. And then that's what I target on is, okay, this is really where I want to focus. Because, maybe people come to me for weight loss, but they're also a smoker. But maybe the main thing is they really want the weight loss and they can deal with the smoking later, right? So I really want to know, but they're talking about smoking and weight loss the whole time. Well, what do you really want? Okay, I want to like really eat smaller portions when I leave. Okay, great. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, when I'm talking to the subconscious, I might be like, hey, can we also just, while you're at it, just take away the craving to smoke? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, great. Go in and program that for me now at the unconscious level. Take as much time as you need. Let me know when you're done. And then I just wait. And then the subconscious will come back and say, I'm done. And great. So that's like how easy, how simple it is to do this. And so, and if so, or sometimes the subconscious may tell me that there is a secondary gain. Well, okay, I'll ask it to go in and program, and they may say, there's a problem because Karen wants to hang on to her identity. Like, smoking is huge identity. She wants to be known as the rebellious person, right? And she wants.
I do, but not by smoking.
Not by smoking. No, I'm just. I know. But she wants to buck up against authority. Okay, so now we need to resolve that first, right? And then have the subconscious help you resolve that, right? So what do we need to do? For let's help Karen keep that rebellious identity. Make her, maybe she could rebel against big tobacco, right? Because what's something that she cares about, right? So we're still using the utilization. What's something she cares? And then let's use that. Can we use that? Yeah, we could use that. Great. Can you program that in for me now? Sure. Go ahead and do that for me now. I'll take as much time as you need. Let me know when you're done. So,
Michael, are you opening this up for questions and discussion?
Well, we are going to do that in just a few minutes,
Okay.
as a matter of fact. But if you got a question, go ahead. Since you're on the microphone.
Well, Donald, let go. Yes.
Well, first of all, I don't really trust direct suggestion hypnosis, I guess, and I think although that's largely based on my own experience. Although my very first real experience with hypnosis was with Wendy. And
with Wendy Friesen?
Yeah.
Okay.
On a recording.
Me too.
Awesome. And it was a self-suggestion. She said, whenever you see the color red, you will. And I filled in the blank.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, well, I don't really have any bad habits, but except I've been cracking my knuckles since I've been 11. So I said to myself, whenever I see the color red, I'll feel this warm, healing glow in my fingers and won't need to crack them. And that worked. But generally speaking, I can't even do the lemon test.
Okay.
So I tend to gravitate to things that don't require things like core transformation and wholeness, that don't require direct suggestion. So I'm amazed, you say 85% you can get to this state.
You're talking about the induction phase, right? So if they don't respond to authoritarian language, I'll use permissive language.
Well, any kind of language.
Or any kind. Yeah, you can use whatever kind of induction you want.
No, but I'm saying, I guess maybe because I've never experienced that.
So, but when we're talking to the subconscious, like I'm not talking to your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is daydreaming. In fact, that's the first question that I asked the subconscious.
But getting to that point.
Oh, yeah. Getting to that point. That's the right.
And I'm kind of amazed that you say 85% of people can get to that.
Yeah, they can get to profound somnambulism, or at least of my clients, of the data that I've been taking. Now, even resistant people, right? Putting the quotes around resistant. I do suggestibility tests before I do an induction. And if resistance comes up, then I clear the resistance using waking hypnosis and a very light parts therapy thing. Let's talk to the part that is, that is helping you in some way. It's helping to protect you. Let's see what it wants. And then I figure out
I'm not even thinking of resistance. I'm just thinking of things that don't work very well.
Okay, so right. So then, if I knew that, so anchoring works really well for you, right? So maybe I would use some sort of anchoring technique on you to get you into somnambulism, right?
Maybe.
So that's just something that you sort of have to, I mean, there's still hypnosis.
Donald, you wouldn't be Stephanie's client. I mean, there is that. Maybe the two of you just wouldn't be a fit.
I don't know.
You're saying that you don't believe in it. You don't get there. You don't understand how 85% can do it. But obviously, Stephanie has research.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing
You
that.
might be in the 15%.
I'm not disputing that. And in some ways, hypnosis works really well for me.
Right.
But
well, I'm the type of person who I'm so excited when somebody hypnotizes me that I stay in the awareness state. I can still be hypnotized and get the good benefits, but I don't daydream. My conscious mind doesn't go away like my clients does. But that's just because either it's because I want to observe, and I'm always wanting to just to know what's going on, and there's a part of me that just wants to always learn. I've had to sort of teach myself just to like chill out with that and just to relax into it and not, and just really enjoy it for myself. So I'm sort of teaching myself to just put myself into a daydream while someone else is hypnotizing me, and just trust that my subconscious is going to protect me, and not taking suggestions that are unhealthy for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I'm really way curious about something, because I appreciate your research, Stephanie, but I'm also wondering, because I know there are people out there like Don who might have a little difficulty with this, and so I'm curious if before you even do the work with people, do you sort of take on all comers, or do you screen them out somehow through the phone calls, or is there something else that might tend to get you more people that are going to be responsive to your techniques than?
Well, it's just like with any hypnosis. I mean, they have to want it, right?
Right. But I mean, if somebody calls you to make an appointment, do you just make appointments with people, or do you screen them on the phone first?
I screen them on. I screen them on the phone, but I don't reject many people. I mean, they have to really. I have to really feel like they really don't want this. This is someone else wants it for them.
Yeah, I don't reject people unless they really piss me off.
Or and that happens too. But I don't not. I mean, unless there's something like people who there's people who I prefer to take their issue over other issues. Like, I don't really like the whole husband and wife or partners like cheating on each other. I don't really like that, taking that kind of stuff. But if it's like anything, I actually love taking anxiety and PTSD trauma. I love taking those cases. I love taking like anxiety. So because I had a fear of flying, I take a lot of people who have a fear of flying. But that's because of something dear to me. I understand where they're coming from. I can really get into their shoes, so I can help them better. I have done a lot of research on this, and so it sort of more depends on what issues they're coming to me with. I'll refer them out if it's an issue that I really just don't want to work with.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
So you do perform somnambulism though with everything from soup to nuts, really, right? I'm smoking and fingernail biting and
yeah, because it doesn't really matter that much what the issue is. For me, it's what are they going to bring to the pre-talk or to the assessment part of it? Is it going to be a lot of negativity, or are they like ready to like jump in and work on themselves like joyfully? Those are the people that I want.
Right.
But the issue doesn't really matter per se, because the subconscious knows what to do with the issue.
Mm-hmm. Lovely.
So
I kind of make the assumption, and I think maybe Stephanie, you do too. Is I'm hearing this, and I may be wrong, that people who are coming to my office want what I have to offer.
Yes.
I mean, I personally don't make a reservation at an expensive steak joint if I think they're going to have lousy steak or think I'm going to have a bad time. I'm not going to book the reservation there. Right. So I don't expect somebody to come to me knowing my fees and book the reservation if they think they're not going to get what they want.
Right, exactly. And if they come to me with your prices are too high, Great. There are some lovely hypnotists in the area. I'm so happy to refer you out to them.
Yes.
They really could use the business. they hardly ever take me up on that.
I had a situation just 2 weeks ago where a woman wanted an appointment, and she came up in my phone and the name came up. So I thought, okay, I must have seen this. This must be a recurring person. And indeed, when I looked up an old email exchange, it was from 2014. And she made an appointment and canceled it. But when I quoted her the prices and everything for this appointment, she wrote back and said, oh my God, your prices have gone up so much. And I said, well, yes, since 2014 they have. And she said, well, I was hoping I could get the same price. And I was hoping we could come up with an arrangement that would make us both happy. And I said, well, here's the arrangement that will make us both happy. I think you come for good services here, or I'll be happy to refer you to some other hypnotist who has lower rates.
Yeah, and he's working down a couple blocks down at the stoplight, scraping windshields this time of year.
You know,
Right,
but that's how
exactly.
we're both going to be happy, because if I'm gonna, you know,
Yeah.
do it, I have to be happy too, right?
Right.
And we
Absolutely.
get the clients that are supposed to come to us.
And I have there really is a lovely woman who lives in my area who I will refer clients to her just because I don't want to deal with the issue. And I don't think she's that cheap, but I appreciate that she's there so that I can refer people out. And I really want to find more people like that in my area. I seem to have a hard time connecting with other hypnotherapists like in my area, like you guys around the world. I'm great with connecting with you guys and online and at conferences, but just like in my hometown or my surrounding area, it's really hard to connect with them. It's like they don't want to be friendly. They don't want the competition.
It's the spirit of competition, right?
Right. And it's like, it's not about competition. It's about, let's get together as a network and help people. But they don't see it that way.
Mhm.
I'm so
Unfortunately.
fortunate in Chicago because we are lucky to have Larry Garrett, a hypnotist who's been around for a gazillion years. And he, the first Sunday of every month, has a meeting at his center and invites every hypnotist in the Chicagoland area for free. We all hang out for a couple of hours together and share information and network and get to know each other.
That's
And
awesome.
his credo is, there is no competition.
Yeah.
We're all here to, we'll get the business that we deserve to get. And I think it's really true. If we could
That's
all
right.
just feel that way,
Yeah.
I
the more
agree.
it'd be better.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Right. So we are down here in the last 10 minutes, in fact, of our time. So I want to make sure if y'all that are out there, if you got any questions and stuff, now would be the time to.
Wendy Marin
Yeah.
wants to know if you test for somnambulism, or how do you test for it?
So, you can test for it if you want to, just doing the typical, air and depth scale type of test, which would just be for phenomena. But I don't typically do that. I just follow the protocol, and then once we get to the state where I'm pretty certain that we're in. Well, so you'll see this if you come to the Mid-America conference and you take the class from me, I can go into better detail about that. But there's very specific ways of knowing that you have profound somnambulism and that you have the subconscious online. Because for one thing, the subconscious will begin talking about the client in third person, like they're a separate personality from the client. So that's like the main way of knowing that you have them there. So
I love that you're not testing for whether or not your arm can lock shut, which is really compliance as much as
Right.
anything else. You're hearing how they are running their program. And how
right.
the program changes, whether you're talking to an inner part or an outer part, right?
Right. And you can do the testing. You can test for phenomenon if you want. You can, in fact, you can do whatever you're doing now that feels comfortable to you. You don't even have to change up what you're doing. But at a certain point, you bring them deeper into profound somnambulism, and then you can just get the ratification from the subconscious verbally at that point. So you don't even have to change. Like if you love doing whatever you're doing, whether that's regression or content free or metaphors or whatever. If you're great at that and you love doing that, keep doing that. And then you could just take them into profound somnambulism and then just have a little chat with the subconscious. You know, sometimes that's how I'll even test hypnotic techniques when I learn something new. I'll do the new technique on the client and see, and then I'll bring up the subconscious and I'll ask if it works. So
Cool.
It's easy.
easy. Yeah.
You know, I suspect, Stephanie, that you have got some story that you haven't told us. Because it seems like profound somnambulism would open the door to a variety of interesting and unusual experiences that folks might not typically experience. You got any favorite to tell us?
Well, that's when we get into I call it the spiritual woo-woo aspect of it. And I have that belief system. And I only use it on clients who have the same belief system. If they don't have a spiritual part of them or admit to it or whatever, then I don't bring them there. Okay. But if they are spiritual, I've had some phenomenal experiences talking with the higher power of the client. Even experiences where, let's say, the subconscious couldn't clear something out. And it's like, oh, that's weird. The subconscious can't clear something out. But when you talk to the higher power, I remember most of the time the subconscious can clear out whatever. But I remember working on this one particular client, the subconscious just could not clear it out. So I was like, all right, I'm going to bring in the big guns. And I brought in a sort of like I said, trance channeling. And so we channeled in the higher self. And I asked the higher self, well, what is going on? So at the spiritual level, the higher self said that the client had to experience this thing now for the growth of their soul. It goes back to this karmic, I don't want to say debt because karma is not exactly what a lot of people think it is. But there was karma that is being worked off right now. And there's learning that the client still needs to glean from this experience. And so once that's over, then we'll clear out the problem. But right now, for the growth of the soul, the client needs to experience this. And so like, that was like awesome to me. I got that on the recording. The client thought they had fallen asleep. Okay. And so I was like, okay, great. So that made me feel better. So it took the onus off of me. Like, oh, yeah, I couldn't remove this, problem or clear this issue. It's not me. They needed to have this issue for a reason. And I always ask if the issue is serving a purpose, right? That's always like the very first question I ask. Is it serving a purpose? And then if it is, let's find out, why or what it's there for. And if it's not needed anymore, can we get rid of it?
Nice.
So, but I've had okay, I'll tell you guys. So one experience, I called in, I was only trying to talk to the higher self at this point. Sometimes the collective unconsciousness comes through, and when that comes through, they'll identify themselves as we, like a group of souls. Okay, but this time I was only trying to call in the higher self, and what came through was something that identified itself as source. All right, and okay, gave information about the client and how the source is going to help it. The whole voice completely changed. All right. Scary. And the client's eyes popped open and was talking to me the whole time with like fluttering. I was like kind of creepy. But looking straight at me. All right. So that's like, okay, that's like kind of weird and freaky. At first, this all kind of sounds freaky, but then you get used to it after you do, your first few. Then it's like, okay, this is like old hat to me now. But what was amazing about that was at one point, the higher power turned to me and said, And what about you? Why have you been procrastinating on that book that I've put in your heart to write? Why is that not done yet?
Ah,
And let me just tell you, the client had no idea that I was working on a book. I didn't, I don't talk about myself in the pre-talk or whatever. So, and that kind of took me aback, kind of took me by surprise. My heart was like sort of racing at that time because I wasn't expecting it to be directed at me. I just thought that it was going to talk about the client and we were going to clear out the issue. And then, but it told me a few things about myself that the client could not have known. It would have just been such a random coincidence.
yeah, nice. So, 70, where are you appearing?
Where am I appearing?
What can people, you got something coming up, or how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can get in touch with me. You can go to my website. My website for for students is my name, stephanieconkle.com. You can get more information there. You can get lots of video training. Then in 2020, I'm only committing to do 2 hypnosis conferences for next year because I did so many this year that I've like kind of worn myself out, and I just like need time to rest. And I really want 2020 to be a creative year for me. And so I'm trying to slow down and not take as many clients and not take on travel as much.
So just Chicago and Orlando this coming year.
So I'm doing Chicago
And Orlando.
If somebody accepts me, if somebody accepts my proposal,
I'm pretty sure that will happen, but we'll see.
I'll be doing Mid-America and then HTL like I do every year. So maybe I would actually like to do Orlando, but let me just sort of see where I am with that. But I'm definitely doing Chicago and HTL.
Ask your unconscious mind.
Okay. I will contemplate on that. But if I do Orlando, then that's definitely like it. So 3 will be my limit for sure.
Ask your unconscious mind why it has put Orlando into your heart.
Well, it's already saying it's sunny and warm.
Yeah.
And my best friend lives in Orlando, so I do have lots of motivating reasons to get there, not just for the conference. But
Stephanie?
Well,
yes.
That is,
Have you ever tried the protocol without getting profound somnambulism, just ordinary somnambulism?
Just on people who I know are natural somnambulists to begin with. But if they're just, if they have a harder, I don't say harder time, but if they don't go into somnambulism very quickly, then I do my protocol with them.
Okay, cool. And second thing, just to make sure I run us over time.
yeah.
You and I have talked, I have an unusual brain. How functional, are you able to conduct a hypnosis session while you are fairly deeply hypnotized?
Well, I am deeply hypnotized myself.
Yes.
Well, I do go into hypnosis first, but I don't feel like I go into a very profound state.
Yeah, okay.
But I do go into a sort of light meditative state.
I've done something for years that I call negotiating with the subconscious, which sounds similar. And I don't go for profound somnambulism. I do it in ordinary somnambulism.
Okay.
But I will get myself to somnambulism and I'm still functional to conduct a session. And sometimes it seems like there's a trust, like, oh, I'm a subconscious and I'm, the hypnotist subconscious is talking to me. So I get a really good connection and really good results that way. But I don't know that most people can do that.
Yeah. So I will find myself at times sort of putting myself into, a deeper state. And then I go, how long was I just out? Let me get back to what I was saying here, so I have to be careful with not allowing myself to go too deep because I'll just zonk right out.
Nice. It's a
Cool.
fascinating
Thank
idea and something I'd love to have some more discussion about at another time as well. And we've talked a little bit about it here from time to time. So let's hope the subject comes back around. Thank you, Scott, for the question. And oh my gosh, Stephanie, it has been lovely having you with us.
Likewise. Thank you so much for
The time
having
has gone
me.
by so quickly. I want to let everybody know, so don't go away, Stephanie, just yet, because we've got to send you off properly. But I want to let everybody know again that the replay from this program will be available by about noon tomorrow. You can find it on the IACT IMDHA members forum if you are a member and you sign in to the Mind Matters forum on one of the websites. It'll be there. We'll also post it to our YouTube channel. So Virtual Chapter has a YouTube channel. Look up Virtual Chapter and you'll find us there. Or if you're on the Facebook group, it will be posted to the Facebook group as well. So there are plenty of places that you can find us again tomorrow, because there are a few things that we said that you are just going to want to hear again. So we'll look forward to, so some of you, and by the way, and there's some people out there right now that haven't even heard us yet. And as they hear me say this now, then that's going to be very, very weird. So I hope they have a lovely time. And it's too bad that they missed what we are about to do now, because we are going to open up all the microphones so that everybody can send in one great wave of love and affection, send Stephanie off with our appreciation and gratitude for being with us. And your microphones are all open. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you,
Thank
Stephanie.
Great.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Love having
Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And see y'all next month at the banquet.
Yeah. And keep it safe, December.